while you're working, while you're working graphics, let me get us started because time is a very precious thing. I want to welcome everybody to this Be a Force speaker series. Uh, this is the second semester that we've done one of these things, and we've tried to focus on this tagline here at Bentley called "Be a Force," and to the student athletes, they know it's about, pardon my French, it's about being a badass in the classroom, uh, in the community, and in the pool. Sometimes they say on the court or in the field, but this time it's in the pool. I had the pleasure of watching our swim and dive team rack up another win against Pace over the weekend. They're 3 in a row, and they go into the Northeast 10 Conference Championships. They've got 2 weeks off, and I'm sure Coach has got them well planned to peak in Worcester. And we wish our team the best. We are delighted to have Nancy Hogshead with us today. Many of you have read her bio. I will tell you that Grace Carter and I have done a number of these. But this is the first time, Nancy, that I have had to consciously choose how much time I use to describe your impact, realizing we only have an hour. Okay. I am quite honestly blown away as I attempt to consolidate the impact that you've had for decades. And I'm going to just give this somewhat, maybe not brief bio, but I think a fair bio, because some of the people who will be watching this video subsequently will not have the benefit of having done the pre-reading that some of the people on the line have. So here we go. Many of you have read about Nancy Hogshead, but I urge you to do it again after this session. The depth and breadth of Nancy's accomplishments are simply amazing. What I've learned is it's a challenge to even define Nancy Hogshead. Here are a few highlights. As a swimmer and as a student athlete, Nancy joined USA Swimming at the age of 13. She went undefeated in high school and college in dual meets. She was the first swimmer to be offered a scholarship at Duke University and became a 4-time ACC champion. She was named All-America, and she was awarded the Kipwith Award as the nation's best all-around swimmer. She qualified for 2 Olympic Games. She was understandably upset when the U.S. boycotted the 1980 Games, and she took a hiatus from swimming. But when the Games returned to Los Angeles in 1984, Nancy was ready. She became the most decorated swimmer in those games, earning 4 medals, 3 gold and 1 silver. After the games, Nancy discovered she'd been competing with asthma. That diagnosis caused her to retire after 15 years as a member of USA Swimming. And if those 15 years were amazing, Nancy's impact over the next 40 years have been nothing short of remarkable. Nancy founded her own company, Hogshead Enterprises, the year after she left the pool, where she is still in demand, still 40 years later, as a highly in-demand global speaker. She earned a law degree from Georgetown and focused on representing student athletes and universities in Title IX matters with the goal of achieving legal compliance without litigation. She built a reputation as a civil rights expert on areas including equal pay, ending sexual harassment in sport, employment, pregnancy, and sexual discrimination issues, just to name a few. Nancy earned tenure as a professor of law and taught at the graduate level for over 20 years at Florida Coastal and Rutgers. She co-authored a book titled Equal Pay, Title IX and Social Change that has received wide acclaim. She served on the NCAA Task Force on Gender Equity and the boards of the Equality League and the Association of Title IX Administrators and the Executive Committee of the World Olympians Association, just to name a few. She served as the co-chair of the American Bar Association Committee on the Rights of Women for 9 years. She founded a nonprofit called Champion Women as another avenue to use the law as an advocate for girls and women in sports. She currently serves as CEO. Champion Women has had a big impact, particularly in building coalitions and changing laws, including a 14-year effort to pass the Federal Safe Sport Act in 2018 to protect 16 million club and Olympic athletes from sexual abuse. She built a similar coalition of support that led to an additional federal legislation in 2020. She served on 2 presidential committees on gender and sports. Sports Illustrated magazine listed Nancy as one of the most influential people in history of Title IX. She's been inducted into 13 halls of fame, including the Duke Hall of Fame, where she was the first woman ever inducted. As many of you know, our own coach was inducted as the first woman ever inducted into another ACC school at Boston College in their Hall of Fame. We're very proud of our coach. Among these other Hall of Fames was the Academic All-America Hall of Fame in recognition of Nancy's career success and her contributions to society. Nancy was, is, and always will be a force. And I cut that down. I swear, I cut that down. So
that's very generous of you. Thank you so much,
Nancy,
Rick.
and I did. And I told you when we get started, we would start off, and I'm hoping that Coach has a voice in the room that she's at, that she might be able to say hello before we go to the student athletes and their questions. And I know there's some material you've put together. But Coach, is there any chance we've got that audio working?
I think I got my audio working. You can hear me, right? Okay. I'm echoing in the back though. Hi, Nancy. Thank you for joining us. I'm going to say I'm remembering you at the '84 Olympics. Quite honestly, I stayed in Massachusetts and babysat people who their house when they all went to the Olympics to watch you swim. So a little jealous, but I did watch you on TV. I have to say that I think that we talk a lot about in college athletics about how athletics does mold you for life, and it's more, and coaching is more than coaching, it's teaching, and the things you learn in the pool and on the field, wherever, are equal and maybe last with you longer than what you learned in the classroom. And I see obviously that it made you stronger and better, and your experiences molded your athletic experience, I think, molded what you went on to become. So that's the lesson we want to sort of put out there for our student athletes. So go from there.
Thanks, Mary. Nancy, opening comments before we get to the Q&A? The floor is yours.
Do you want me to make opening comments, or do you want the students to start off with questions? Or
well, we'll go. And
I'm ready to go.
I'm happily surprised that you have some material prepared, because guess what? I can sure we could fill the rest of the hour with questions that these folks have. But I also want to honor the fact that you've got again, so much to offer. I'll go in any direction you want. If there's something you'd really like to put out there first, then I'll defer to you.
Okay, good. Thank you for that. So first of all, I want to say thank you for this opportunity to get to talk to you all. It's always amazing. In my PowerPoint, you'll see I have my email address, and if you have any ideas or something we should be looking at, please let us know. So I just want to go over 2 issues in a sort of a coordinated way. Bingo. File. Slideshow from beginning. Here we go. Come on. Sometimes you have to talk to it. Come on. From beginning. Oh, there we go. Okay. All right. Everybody can see that, right? All right. So one of the things that I wanted to leave you all with here today is to be bold. So to be a force, and in order to be a force, you have to, number one, work really hard. It's just like swimming. There's no way to improve, to be your best you, to be able to experience flow if you don't work hard. There's just, there's no luck. There's no getting around it. And then 2 is just to be brave. So I'm going to talk about the issues that we cover. And there are a number of times when it was really hard to take a particular stand on something. But I want to encourage you, whatever really speaks to you, to do that, because sport's not going to get any better until we have people willing to speak out. All right. So Rick already went over, you know, kind of the areas that Champion Women focuses on. I wanted to start a nonprofit versus going into private practice because I wanted to get change to scale. So when I looked at like how much longer in my career do I have, how much could I do if I was just doing cases? And I decided not nearly as much change as I would want. So that's why we work the way that we do. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is Title IX compliance. And then we're going to go from there to the transgender issue. Unless you all have questions, unfortunately, the sexual abuse issue is raging. I'm actually, I'm interrupting a deposition that that the plaintiff in a case against me and Champion Women by a coach that molested at least 6 of his athletes. I think most of you all, because you're in a sports program, you know there are 2 basic sports systems excluding professional sports in the United States. One is the school-based system, right? So you all, as part of Bentley University, are participating in the school-based system. There's also the Olympic movement. So when you all participate in, you know, your summer club sports like USA Swimming, right? That's 16 million athletes, and it's about half that over here in the school-based movement. So those 2 groups don't talk to each other very well. So we, Champion Women, told the schools that, you know, that this guy had been banned by United States Volleyball, AAU, Junior Volleyball Association, United States Center for Safe Sport. You can go up, look at his name on the banned list on Safe Sport because of having sex with minor athletes. And his name is Rick Butler. But anyway, he's suing me and Champion Women for $250 million because he says that I interfered with his business relationships. Well, I did, because we think that he should not be coaching. I mean, after you get banned by all these different groups, it should mean something. So putting that aside, when you add, okay, now we're switching over here to basic Title IX compliance. So you all know Title IX is a statute, right? Do you have any political science or government type majors?
Not many. We've got some government minors, but primarily business.
Okay, perfect. So usually any civil rights starts with somebody has a good idea. It moves the Congress, passes a statute, and then the president signs it. And then so after you have the statute, then it goes over to an administrative agency. In this case, it's the Department of Education, and they usually come up with rules on how to enforce that. And then, so somebody like you, Taylor White, would sue a school to say, you're not providing me with equal educational opportunities the same way that you're doing this for men. So when you total things up, it's a really bad picture out there for this is only college sports. But schools would need to add 225,000 opportunities. Now the number's up to $1.3 billion in college scholarships and $185 million in recruiting dollars. So, right, we've got a strong statute, strong regulations, we've got phenomenal case law, and still we have these very persistent sex discrimination going on in collegiate athletic departments. Okay. So we created a website, or created both a website and that looks at like we inputted all the data. If you go on to, there's a great website called the EADA, the Equity and Athletics Disclosure Act. And if in the past, for literally 25 years, I was giving lectures and I was showing the orange line and the pink line. So the pink line is where women are now. The dip is because of COVID, but the pink line is where how many opportunities women are being given. Then 2 is that's where men are, the orange line. Okay. And the purple line is what women would have if they had what men have. So because there's so many more women in school, if women had, 1 in 10 women had an opportunity to play sports and 1 in 10 men had an opportunity to play sports, right? It's called, if it was proportional. So, and this gap right here is women are missing out on 77% of the opportunities that the law would say that they should have. So you can see I'm not going to be able to do that one lawsuit at a time. This is athletic scholarships. So I don't have a little sign here, but if women were being given equality, women would have 50%, 52%, I think it is, more than what they currently have. I mean, you all know what a college scholarship or what school funding means to an athlete. I mean, it's a deal breaker. It's a, like even for me, where my parents absolutely could afford to send me to college. The fact that I earned a full scholarship to Duke University was an enormous sense of pride. I felt like I had earned it. When I was 15, I had moved away from home to train for the 1980 Olympics. I really thought, yay, that was going to be kind of the end of my athletic career. And and so then I got this full scholarship. I just can't even tell you how proud I was of being able to earn that. So women again are missing out on, $1.3 billion. It's not an insignificant amount. So okay, so any questions on the Title IX stuff? You can go on to our website. It's called Title IX IX, TITLEIX schools.com. And we have, if you look up in the right-hand corner, it says our 2023 complaints. We filed discrimination complaints with the Department of Education at the top 50 schools for scholarships, and then the top 50 schools for opportunities to be able to play. And we'll see what happens with this new administration. But I have to say the Biden administration, we filed them in 2023 and they really didn't move at all. So far, it has not resulted in more opportunities or more scholarship dollars. Before we did this with the individual schools, in 2020, I had 8 research assistants. So we sent a letter to every single school, every single conference, and kind of laid it out. Here's the law, here are the facts, and here's how they work together. And here's, for the conference, here's what you need to do to provide equality for women, men and women. And again, that literally did nothing. I can't tell you how much money and how much effort that we put into those legal memos. I mean, it was like we're giving them a legal memo for free, right? We're not charging them anything. We're just giving them these memos. So I think those of you that have a lot of times athletes women athletes in particular, they know that they're not getting what the men are getting, but they think, well, there must be some reason, right? That, well, in the school will say, oh, well, a donor gave the baseball facility. So that's why their facility is so much better than the women's softball facility.
Hey, Nancy.
Yeah.
I have a favor to ask.
Oh, sure.
I have no doubt that with the 35 minutes left,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
you could continue to give us
Okay.
a very important update, but I'm going to make a specific request.
Yes.
My request is to leave the graphics,
Yeah.
and my request is to see, it's a challenge to you.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask, and I'm going to count how many questions that these student athletes have of you can you answer in the next 35 minutes?
There we go.
Which
That's
means
thank you very much. Yeah.
you're going to have to be careful
be
with your
fun
answer.
to do it
No,
this
no,
way.
no, listen, you're passionate and I love passion. But the objective is to get to as many questions with thorough answers as possible.
Okay, you got it. Let's go.
All right,
First.
ladies and gentlemen, it's open. Go.
I was just curious, what you were gonna say about the whole baseball facility versus softball facility. I was interested in that point.
Okay, yeah, I've got a whole memo that I'm happy to send to you, which tells OCR advisors they're not in sports. So how do you evaluate men's versus women's, right? So how many, do they have a press box? How many seating? Do they have concession stand? What is the scoreboard look like? How many lanes do they have for batting practice? What kinds of machines do they have? What kind of storage facilities, right? All those kinds of things. But this summer I tortured my research assistants by making them find pictures of all these different schools on what the differences were between these facilities, because the law is very clear. You have to provide equal opportunities, and you're sending a message to young women that what they're doing is not as important. And that is a terrible message for girls and women to take home. I have twin girls, and I know we're looking for lots of questions, but my twin girls played softball, and they're in college now. So, but when they were young, and literally their third practice, my daughters came to me and they said, Mom, how come the boys have concession stand and we don't? Why do they have a scoreboard and we don't? Why do they have nice cement, permanent bleachers, and we have, those kind of bleachers go ba-bang, 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 when you step on them? Right? Like, it's almost like they had gone through what in Title IX parlance we would say the laundry list to say that, right? And we're talking, they were like 6 or 7 years old, and they already knew that what they were getting was not the same as what the boys were getting. So I'm happy to share. Did you send all the materials, Rick, that I forwarded?
I did.
Okay, so I'm happy to do the same. I'll send him like our sheet on how it is that you evaluate softball versus baseball facilities. All right, next question. Oh, did I answer that one?
No.
Okay.
We're just in a unique sport that I think since we've grown up, the girls and the boys have been together and have been equal. So,
Right.
and on this team, honestly, we do have more men, but because Bentley is a predominantly male school, but I would say that we have not experienced that here, but I would say when you go to look for a job, you may see that inequality going on.
Yeah. Okay, next question.
I have a question. I was just wondering, kind of hoping to get an experienced answer for this, but I was wondering, how do you deal with burnout, and have you experienced it before? Kind of, I know you went to the Olympics, so that's a ton of training.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, that's actually the number one question, Hilla, that I get, particularly from swimmers. Are you a swimmer?
I'm a diver, but
A diver.
I know swimming.
Right. But even so, I mean, anytime you're at, at training at the level you all are, which, by the way, in order to be an NCAA athlete, you're typically in the top 2 to 3% of all high school athletes. Like the cutoff between high school and college is whabam enormous. So you are all in very rare air. So how did I handle burnout? My first point is that it is normal, that to have days when you don't want to swim or you don't want to get into that pool or right the volleyball court or whatever, with every cell in your body like, please dear God. Okay. And I really relied on my teammates at that time to kind of remind me why I was there. It really helped that I had shared why I was there with lots of people so that they could again kind of remind me of like, what is your why? And I think, everybody has a different why. For me, I loved the experience of flow. So I'm sure you've all had this experience. It feels like you're not doing your sport is doing you. It feels like being kissed by God. It feels like, you've got your 10,000 hours, of those of you that have read Malcolm Gladwell. Right, but you're truly proficient. As a writer, I had, it was probably about the same amount of time as a writer before I felt flow. And once you feel it, it's pretty addictive. So but how often do you feel flow in a practice? Not often, unfortunately. So yeah, I always tried to stay connected with why I was there. But two is like, I don't even go there. I don't even question like why. It was just like going to practice, working as hard as I could was just part of my automatic, right? Here's what I'm doing. This is the train that I'm on. And I can either get off that train, but if I'm on that train, then, there's no question that I'm going to, it's the same thing like when you get to work. It's the same thing that, I'm sure that Mary Kay and Rick are the exact same, right? You get in a groove so that missing practice is just not an option. So does that help?
Yeah, that did. Thank you so much.
All right, next, go.
Oh, it's echoing. I think that the work you do is so important and it's so hard, and I want to acknowledge how beautiful it is that you turn such a difficult experience that can be debilitating to some people into something that has helped so many people. And I was wondering, what are the most rewarding parts of that work and what are the hardest parts of that work?
Oh gosh. I guess, all of us here on Earth, we want to make a difference in the world, right? We want to know that our work, that who we are, has been able to make an impact. So, yeah, I would say for sure getting those, for example, 2 pieces of federal legislation change that gave the Olympic movement a legal duty to protect athletes from physical, emotional, and sexual abuse. And it's just enormous. I mean, it's a game changer. So before this happened, before the statutes got passed, well, first of all, I was working on this for years. And then I had the gift of Larry Nassar. And the athletes that spoke out were unbelievably well spoken. And it's like, they really did such a good job. But we already had the model statute. We already had what we wanted. We had already gotten this big group of Olympians and Paralympians to follow us, to sign on, to like, you know, who wanted to be involved in the Olympic movement from a governance standpoint, not just a, you know, help raise money and be rah rah, right? But initially, when the Ted Stevens Olympic and Amateur Sports Act, that's the statute that governs the Olympic move, it was passed in 1978, and athletes had 20% of voting power, which did not include onto the USOPC board. So athletes had very strong opinions about, you know, how they and their sport should be run, but they didn't have a vote. So number one, we got it up to 33% for all committees, for all positions of authority, and the USOPC board. And that has just made a tremendous difference. So the amount of money that's gone into the Olympic movement has gone up, you know, literally since my years, like 100-fold. But the athletes are pretty much in the same position that I was, which is calling mom and dad and saying, I need $100. It is. It's really not right. So the money's not flowing down to the athletes. And if the athletes don't have money and they don't have a right to earn money out of what they're doing, then they're very susceptible to abuse. So there's phenomenal research showing that the more elite the athlete, the more likely they are to be abused from somebody within their own entourage. So, right, you would think that like Simone Biles and the best of the best, you know, they're not going to be abused. Oh no, that's the target, because Simone Biles, number one, you can just see she's experiencing flow when she is, you know, doing gymnastics. And, you know, she has that hunger. She's willing to work that hard. And it is that hunger. Like, if you think about like who got abused in the Catholic Church, it was the most religious kids, the most religious, right, who felt like they needed to listen to what the priest was saying. So yeah, so that's on the good side, is really knowing that your work is making a difference. Honestly, the hardest part is twice I have just lost a ton of community because of my positions that I was advocating for. When I was advocating for the Olympic movement to clean up their act when it came to sexual abuse, I had been with the Women's Sports Foundation for 30 years, been their vice president, president, head of the board of stewards, been their senior director of advocacy, and their legal advisor, right? All those different positions over 30 years. And they said, we want you to still keep working for us, but we want you to agree not to talk about sexual abuse in any context. Like, not on Facebook, not at a cocktail party. So I had to leave. And that I mean, I was so skinny. That was, but it was hugely traumatic. And I had the experience of, I don't know if any of you have had this when something bad happens, is I just kept thinking that, like, if I just took a nap, I'm going to feel better. But, you know, I would take a nap and wake up and want to go back and take another one. So, you know, I had just had to get over that. And frankly, like, it's the same thing. So one of the things that we are addressing is making sure that women's sports for girls and women stays for girls and women. If you had said this was going to be on my my bingo card since 2020, I would have told you were crazy. But all my civil rights organizations that I've been working with nonstop, right? I created these coalitions of experts in Title IX so that if something was happening in Kansas, that we could help the lawyer who was doing it. We could provide them with, you know, model legal briefs and whatnot. So they formally excommunicated me. So the National Women's Law Center, Equal Rights Act, and these are people like who were at my wedding, These are people that, like I sent baby gifts to. These are people, right? We traveled together, we roomed together. And when we tried to say that women's sports should be for women, yeah, so, and that's hard. But on the other hand, I know that that I needed to be doing what it is that I'm doing. And I mean, honest to God, if I could have, I would have like left it to other groups to do. But nobody else was doing it. So we had to do it. So.
Next.
If you could, what would be one thing you could go back and change from your swimming career?
Oh, for my swimming career? What would be the one thing that I could change? I would have, I mean, I went to Olympic trials, I've been to Olympic trials several times, and I've been to the Olympics several times. I mean to tell you, the athletes, their underwater game, their dives, I mean, next level. So I do wish that I had put more into that. I just thought like, oh, work harder, work harder. My peers so I'm 62, my peers, and I know you're all going, no, not you. No, but my peers who went into coaching have, right, who they did what I did, has said that like, I just swam at the wrong time, because we were at the era of 20,000 a day in the hard part of the season. So I was so tired so much of the time. And anyway, I wish I would have rested more. And I mean, I did outside of the pool, I was very good at being horizontal, and I'm a phenomenal sleeper. I just can't tell you how important sleep is. But yeah, I think I wish that I was living in today's swimming world. I'm just awestruck with how people look today, and they seem to be having a lot more fun than we did. Yeah.
Well, I got, we have a couple of asthmatics on our team, so if you could speak to that a little. I know you've written articles in a book.
Yeah. So I had been having asthmatic symptoms regularly, but nobody figured it out, because one way of preventing / treating exercise-induced asthma, which is what I have, is a really long warm-up. So I didn't know why I needed to warm up for a long time. I just knew that if I didn't, that I wasn't going to swim fast. So it wasn't, so when I was at the Olympics, there just happened to be a doctor, and he said, "You always cough like that after you compete." And I was like, "Yes, I do." I mean, my coaches loved it when I would pass out after a race, because like their job is like to get me to, work harder, work harder. Well, I mean, after you pass out, they can't ask for anything more than that. So I was like, "Yes, I do." And they said, "Just go get on a treadmill and see what happens." And I really had to work hard in order to trigger asthmatic symptoms. But I remember like my teammates would touch the wall, and particularly, have you guys heard of Tracy Calkins? I know you have, Mary Kay. So you have not? Oh my God. At one point, she held American records in the butterfly, the backstroke, the breaststroke, the freestyle, the sprints, and the distance events. I mean, she was she like, I got second place to her so many times. Anyway, so Tracy, what was I going to say about Tracy where I was bragging about her?
When she finished a race, what she looked like.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. So she would like, touch the wall and be like, well, that was hard. and I'd be like, like heaving, like, yeah. One more thing that I wish that I had known earlier in my career than later is that we got a body fat percentage test done. And I wish that I had had that done because my coach used to be on my ass about losing weight. And so when I was in the peak part of the season, I weighed 162. I'm 5'10". But and my biggest competitor that I'm getting second place to over and over again weighs 132. So my coach thought I should be weighing what she's weighing. But we got a body fat percentage test done, and I was 11% and she was 21%. So Tracy can't lose any weight because she's 21% body fat. She has that, like, she kind of looks like a model, that long, lean, skinny, right, type. And you can Google Nancy Hogshead muscle. And there's a very famous photographer who just recently died, Heinz Klutmeyer, took these pictures of me flexing at Olympic trials. And like, I was beastie girl at 162 and 11% body fat. Like I had 27 wrinkles on my stomach, right? So now I've got like 4. I just, it's very rare for menstruating women to be under 15%. And most women, so the kind of body type that I have, which is I put on muscle really quickly, is in white women, it is super rare. It's like, 0.2% of all white females have that. So most women, when their body fat is as low as mine was, they don't menstruate. And that's really dangerous for, a woman's bone health. And, usually when women stop menstruating because they're working so hard, I mean, crabby, really, they're not happy people. So, yeah. But I was able to be really low and still menstruate. So I didn't have that. But anyway, but it is a rare body type.
I got another question, if that's okay.
Of
I was
course.
kind of wondering, I'm sure this is something you experience all the time when you're going up against someone that you kind of have a gut feeling you're going to lose to. How do you keep your mentality straight and just kind of push through the race?
Oh, great question. So yeah, I really tried as hard as I could to, focus on my own race, because like Tracy in particular, the person, who's ahead of you, if you are over there, you can kind of put your mind on their swimming and you want to be on yours. You want to, I learned how to kind of get into flow by closing my eyes and meditating specifically on, I'm sure diving is the exact same way, but I would meditate on what it felt like when I was in flow. And I could go from, how he was saying in the introduction that I was undefeated. The way I did that was I could have the world's worst warm up, and then I would go meditate about what it was supposed to feel like, right? And I used to actually say, these words came out of my mouth: butterfly doesn't take muscles. It's all about, technique. I actually thought that. Like, I was like, no, I'm not really that strong. Oh my God. So, right, but I would get, think about the flow and what I was doing, and it just makes all the difference in the world. Like I could shift out of, you guys, everybody's been doing their sport, whatever it is, and lose, feels in swimming, it feels like you've got like anvils attached to your arms. Sometimes I would be 10% slower than normal, just a bad practice. I learned from one of my teammates. Do you guys know? I'm sure you do. who Pablo Morales is. He's the head coach at Nebraska. So Pablo is a teammate, a phenomenal teammate. You want to, oh my, if you could have a great teammate to make you a lot better, it'd be Pablo. So Pablo could have the worst practice and he didn't care. He didn't let it like bog him down. He would move on. Just, yeah. I did the best I could, but boy, was that ever a terrible practice. So after you have one of those, it's trying to recreate those. I got into a lot of meditation way back then, which I highly recommend for everything, but particularly for learning new skills and for getting into flow and all those kinds of things, but really just getting in touch with your body. I don't think I sent anything, but when I was so I used to be a stutterer, and I sent you some materials. I was sexually assaulted when I was in college, and normally I had been like a 2-3 stutterer, like on a scale of 1 to 10. And afterwards, I was a 10. Like I could barely communicate, could barely talk. And the way, like I went to the stuttering clinic, and the way, like I figured it out, like halfway through the clinic, what you do the same thing that you do in swimming, which is you move your mind so that who you are is your mouth. And stuttering is, there's a lot of theories, but basically there's not a good synapse between the thinking and the mouth. So let's just say you want to say the word mom. So the thinking part says mom, but you got to close your eyes and think like my lips are coming together and then they're coming open, mom, and my tongue is staying in the same place and what my teeth are doing, right? You move your whole mind into your mouth. And I mean, as soon as I kind of figured it out, and then now the people that are still doing the same stuttering clinic where you go and you live there for like 6 or 8 weeks, is now that's what they say. They say move your mind into your mouth. Did you get that from me? Yes, they did. Right. So I highly recommend meditating. Highly recommend it.
I'm a huge meditator as well. I just give that a double thumbs up. I'm the one who has to look at the clock. We've got 10 minutes left
Okay.
and we got a lightning round. So guys, I haven't seen a lot of guys a couple of guys in the lines haven't any questions yet. Little challenge there, but
Come on, Kenny.
question, Hilla, that was great. So guys, we
Okay.
got the lightning round. Nancy's ready, so let's go. I want to see how many we can get in 10 minutes. Go.
I have a question. It might be hard to narrow down, but I was wondering what's the best piece of advice that you've either received or that you could give to one of us as a swimmer in college, whether that's like the mental aspect or practice or competing or being a good teammate, any of your best advice you could give or have received.
Yeah, my best advice is to surround yourself with people who are smarter than you are. So my mom used to say, you want to aspire to be the dumbest person in the room. And what she meant by that was, right, you want to be around people who are going to make you better. And you want to surround yourself with you want to find mentors who care about you and that you have a relationship with, and let them do that. So my mentors from when I was 20 years old are still my mentors. When Donna Lopiano, she used to be the CEO of the Women's Sports Foundation, and now she ran the Drake Group for a long time. But when she tells me to do, like I was just pulled an all-nighter last week because she's like, you got to get this out. So, yeah.
Great question. What's next? Let's go.
Go.
I have a question. So obviously being a student athlete is very time consuming, and just being an athlete in general becomes part of your identity. So how did you take the time to find other things you're passionate about while you were spending so much time competing?
Oh, I didn't. Yeah, like I loved my classwork. And I was political science and women's studies major. And so I really liked my classwork, but but no, I mean, enough. It's full, right? I didn't swim after I was raped. I took almost a year off of swimming. And during that time, I joined a sorority and I did other things. But while I was swimming, when I was even worse than that. I would say that I wasn't a good enough swimmer to be able to be in the Olympics and be a full-time student. So I took a year and a half of school off, and I wasn't a good enough student to be able to train that hard and be able to get the grades I wanted. Right. So, I mean, and as I said, a lot of horizontal, and I was good at, reading. But if I drove for over an hour, it would impact my workout. If I used caffeine incorrectly, it was going to impact my workout. If I, like what time I did my laundry, I had to do with workout. What time, you want to talk about eating healthy and eating in ways. I mean, everything was planned out for my day around workouts. So,
And that's why 3 golds and a silver in 1984. So
yeah.
that's what that happens, right? Different. I see
Right.
someone on the line that just stepped up to the mic. Go ahead.
Hi.
Hi.
Thank you very much for taking the time to speak to us today. I was curious what made you decide to study law and whether it was the inequalities or were you already interested in studying law and you just found your niche in this?
Yeah. So I had always planned on going directly undergraduate law school, but frankly, I was making so much money after the Olympics with doing all sorts of things. And I could see that I could easily continue to do that for the rest of my life. But frankly, motivational speaking or talking about what you did in 1984, I mean, it just gets boring. So the part that I liked when I wrote the book for asthmatics, this agency, this pharmaceutical firm, now it's GlaxoSmithKline, they really gave me a lot of freedom to get involved with making sure that school nurses could have inhalers, making sure that doctors that were school associated knew what the best practices were. Asthma is a condition of prevention, not about treating. And so like doing that advocacy stuff is what I really liked. And at the time, I was the president of the Women's Sports Foundation. And, it sort of fit my feminist goals of wanting to make life better for women. I will say that after being assaulted, that there have been no legal changes or cultural changes that would make it any safer today for me to go for a run than it was back then. So you're always looking for ways on how can you make it, or for me, how do you make it better? And so that's why I went to law school. And I highly recommend it. So if you're thinking about law school, it is fun, it's challenging, it's interesting. There's always good stuff going on.
Great question.
Yeah, it is. Okay, come on. Come on, round. We got 3 minutes. Go.
I just have one.
Yeah.
You
Hi.
talked about this flow state you found in athletics. How are you able to translate this into your career?
Oh, yeah, great example. So as soon as you truly experience flow, the hard part in translating it over to your career is just like you're starting from scratch. When you start as a public speaker, you start as going into advertising or being an accountant or whatever it is, you're at zero. So it takes years before you can experience flow in whatever it is that you're doing. So and that I honestly think that's what makes leaving your sport whenever you leave it difficult, is that you all are hyper elite, and you've got to start from the bottom and work your way up. So when I first started at a law firm, I didn't know any more than anybody else. I was doing the same thing that, you know, first year associates were doing. Being a Olympian or speaker or president of the Women's Sports Foundation didn't help. So I had to learn how to write legal memos, how to use citations properly, how to write all that stuff. I would say the one skill that you should really work on when you're in school, the hardest thing to teach as a professor, is writing. Really focus on writing well and being structured about how you write, and being like, right, having your writing hang together with a gestalt to it, so that when somebody reads something, they're like, of course, that's the way to go. So.
Hey, Nancy, I'm conscious of the deposition that you stepped away from to honor your commitment to Coach and her teams. So I want to thank you. I know it's the top of the hour, and I know that you've got someplace else to be. But on behalf of us Falcons over here in Waltham, thank you so much. This team has got great things ahead, even in this season. We've got an awful lot of talented swimmers and divers with us, but I think we're all better for some of the lessons that you chose to share with us. Coach, anything else before we let Nancy go?
Wait, hold on, we can't hear.
I think you're muted, Coach.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And if we get a round of applause from the whole room.
Oh,
Here we go.
thank you all. Thank you very much. I really
Nancy,
appreciate
we'll
it.
be in touch.
And one
Thank
more.
you so much.
Follow us on Instagram.
Oh, yeah, I'm Hogshead 3 AU. Remember, AU is a periodic table of elements for gold. So on
Follow you back.
and yeah, actually, I think on Instagram, I'm Nancy Hogshead, period. But what was I going to say? Yeah, so again, don't hesitate to reach out and follow Champion Women on social. On Instagram, we are the letter I, Champion Women. So hopefully it'll sink in, like, I champion women, right? So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Very
Nancy.
well. Yeah, thank you all. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Scott.
Oh, can you send me a copy of the video?
That's you, Rick.
Will do.
Okay.
Will do.
Okay, good.
All right.